Well, welcome along to the Gary Neville Podcast, which comes to you from the Emirates Stadium, still drawing its breath after an astonishing end, Gary. A really astonishing end in keeping with the great history of the fixture, Arsenal against Manchester United.
Incredible, absolutely incredible. A game that is 1-1. United could have won it. Offside goal, inches. Arsenal think they've got a penalty. Lots happening. But you probably thought that it was going to drift towards a draw, and then Declan Rice. I know that Jesus has scored a third goal, but that second goal for Declan Rice, for Arsenal, by Declan Rice, was a big, big moment. That's what he's been brought for. I've tipped Arsenal to win the title this season, which is a long shot. Look, Manchester City are outstanding. Everybody would point towards Manchester City. But I think it's in these moments that you find out it's very early in the season. Of course, there's a long way to go. Manchester City have been absolutely perfect so far, flawless. But big players, you know, there's a man over there in the studio that's done this game today, Roy Keane, who would drive his team towards a victory. He might not score the sort of winning goal like Declan Rice did today, and sometimes he did, but he might not often do that. But you never stop thinking that the victory is the only result. I think Declan Rice plays every minute of a football match that a draw is a bad result, and that's a really important factor. And then thought that really, you signing these players for the big moments in the big matches. You said it, I've said it, and we've got lots of Arsenal fans around us who are enjoying the fact that Gary Neville's sat here and they've scored in the last minute.
Well, they are enjoying it. I just wonder, Gary, if you're going to have sort of rational thought process amid all of this chaos, whether beyond those headline moments right at the end, the ones that will make all of tomorrow's back pages, I wonder whether you read anything into the overall performance of either side, particularly maybe Manchester United, who were pretty passive in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think it's probably the best Manchester United have defended this season. And obviously they're playing against the best attackers they played against. Obviously Arsenal are better than Tottenham. But I thought there was a compactness to them. I thought there was more diligence from Anthony and Rashford in wide areas. I thought the full-backs defended really well. And I thought there was an element of seriousness about United's performance today. And obviously when Garnacho puts that ball in the back of your net, you think it's the perfect away performance where you've resisted a lot of pressure and you've gone away and scored the goal. Yeah, in the first 25 minutes, they played, it was 200 passes in the first half in their own half, which they've never played that many passes in any game this season, in a full game, let alone in 45 minutes. And I was actually surprised that Arsenal allowed them to do that. And for United, they're the away team, so you try and kill the game. And I think United, you could argue in the first half, did that. They got the goal through Rashford on the break. We know he's dangerous. And at half-time, they'll be happy. So, for me, up until 90, what minutes was it? 90? I
lost count.
96 minutes, whatever, when Rice scored, 94 minutes. I would have said Erik ten Hag would have been proud of what his players had done, because I felt like it was a better performance. And I'm talking about their concentration and focus that you need in a big game. They've been accused, and rightly so, for their appalling record in away matches against the top 9 teams. They picked up 1 point out of 24 last season, which is just awful. And it was big for them that last 10 minutes, and they've fallen short again. And that'll be the overriding thought at the end of this game. It'll be massive disappointment. But if I'm thinking about it logically, there were elements of that performance which were a lot better than what I saw at Tottenham, and certainly a lot better than what I saw against Nottingham Forest and Wolves, where I thought at times they just got cut apart. It wasn't a serious defensive structure. And today I think I saw something that resembles a team in defence.
Yeah, well, that is interesting, and I'm sure United fans will be glad to hear you say that, because, as you rightly say, the narrative is always driven by the result. And I wonder what you'd be saying about Arsenal had Garnacho's goal counted and they'd won the game. How were Arsenal over the 90 minutes?
Yeah, I would have said, actually, if Garnacho has scored that and it's 2-1 and Arsenal lose the game, I would have said that's what you get when you wait in big matches. They waited in the first half far too often, Arsenal. They allowed Manchester United in periods of the game to have 60-70% of the ball. And that's unusual for Manchester United to have that level of the ball here at the Emirates. And Arsenal, who are a possession team, Arsenal sat off. They sort of adopted a mid-press and allowed Onana, Martinez and Lindelof to control the tempo of the match, almost frightened as if United were going to pick them off and play through them. And I thought that was a little bit passive, and I would have said at the end of the game, and we should talk like this, you know, goals change matches, it changes our thinking. We'll come on to the explosive moments in the last 5 minutes which turn the game, and football's about moments. But in that period, Arsenal allowed a lot of the game to drift away and time to be used up by not, if you like, playing the game as they should have done, which was, I think, more positively. So for me, that's what I would have said. but, a big but.
Well, it is a big but, and it all happened right at the end there. Just a sort of couple of personal issues, because again, fans will be interested, albeit we just saw cameos, with the two attacks, where we saw Højlund come on for Martial for, I don't know, what was it, 20, 25 minutes, and he looked as though he was up for a scrap.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can see straight away, I mean, he's obviously playing his first 25 minutes, but straight away he got against Gabriel, he was trying to harass him, he was trying to back into him. So Manchester United haven't had that. You know, they haven't had that. They don't have that with Marcus Rashford when he plays as centre forward. They certainly don't have it with Martial either. So those two aren't like that. So for me, it gives them a different option. It's a difficult game for him to come into, but the build-up to the goal that was disallowed, it was a beautiful little flick to Casemiro, that little 1-2, that combination, and then he slides it through. Sorry, to the lamp. He slides it through. So it was something that would have been a real sort of big 25 minutes for him. What he has experienced today is Premier League football. He's experienced that you can be okay in a game, particularly at the top level. You know, I've lost games in here where in the last minute, there was a game one year where I think Van Persie scored at the back post with a throw-in in that corner. I don't know if you remember it. And I always remember Sir Alex. I can even remember him sort of saying to us about how to manage a game over in the far corner. We were an experienced team and we allowed them to counter-attack. And you lose here in the last minute, it's devastation. And those Manchester United players in that dressing room, right now, I've been there and lost here in the last minute, they'll be absolutely, they'll be desperate. They'll be in despair and they'll be kicking themselves and they'll be asking themselves how it happened. But it happens in football, and Højlund has experienced that very early on. But look, Højlund's got a 3, 4, 5, 6-year career at Manchester United in front of him. There's a lot to be expected from him. He's a 20-year-old boy who's really only starting out in the game. And because of Manchester United's goal problems and Manchester United's, if you like, stuttering attack, there is big expectation because of the price tag. And I feel as though it's a little bit too much. So we have to let him breathe. We have to let him evolve. But it's a... Look, he's at a big club like Manchester United, he'll be judged straight away.
And so the other end, for the benefit of Arsenal fans who'd like your opinion on this, I'm sure, Nketiah giving way to Jesus, who's now available for them. Nketiah in the week has been picked for England, and a lot of people are very, very happy for him. Jesus came on. I don't know how you would compare and contrast.
Look, I'd still put Jesus in front of Nketiah just purely because of his experience. And I thought when he came on, Jesus, he's dangerous. But I think Eddie Nketiah, when he came in for Jesus last season, I thought he did really, really well. And Mikel Arteta has given Nketiah confidence. He's given him belief because he selected him and kept him in the team in front of Jesus. So that's really good from the Arsenal manager. But Jesus probably still is the dominant forward. But it's good for Arsenal that they've got those two options. They need them. I would say, for me, in the last 10 games of last season, I would have wanted Jesus to be a little bit more disciplined and be in the positions on the pitch where it matters in the 6-yard box, where those balls are flashing across from the fullbacks, from White, from Zinchenko and from Saka and Martinelli, and he wasn't doing. He's sometimes everywhere where you don't want him, and he is everywhere, Jesus. That's the positive of him, but it's also potentially something that could be a negative, particularly when you're playing as a deep-lying team and you just need him to stay and be patient in front in the lines, like I suppose the person who he played with at City for so many years, Sergio Aguero, was, understanding that he's a different player. But I'd like to think that he would evolve as a player and mature. And then Nketiah, I think, probably, again, there's parts of his game which he needs to improve. But what Arsenal have is a group of exciting young players up top that really do test you. And Arsenal have got 10 points from 12 at the start of that season. And that's a good return. It really is, because it could have been so different for them today.
OK, well, we hit the international break now. 4 games in, maybe a chance to give your first sort of little overall report at the top end. You've got City on 12, which you might have anticipated. Spurs on 10, they're obviously purring a bit. Liverpool on 10, fantastic away win at Newcastle, followed by a hefty win against Villa. West Ham are in there too. Arsenal and Brighton also very watchable, not far behind. How are you reading that top 6 or 7?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what you would expect so far from teams in the first 4 games, City, yes. Arsenal, yes. Brighton, I think, yes. They just always seem to play this level of football. I think the two teams, Newcastle, I think will be disappointed, although they've had a tough start and they've had tough fixtures. I think for United, I was a little bit glass half full before the game today. I actually thought they'd get beat 3-1. I actually said it before the game to someone here, I don't know if you remember. But I didn't think it would be 3-1 the way they lost 3-1. believe it or not, I'm a little bit more heartened after this game by United than I am, if you like, before the game, because of the fact that I thought the performance was better. But the reality of it is, they've got to get over the line in big matches. They have to make sure they win. And you can't keep saying, oh, they were unlucky or they could have done better today. So United will be a little bit worried. I think losing, obviously, Varane, Martinez and then Lindelof leaves them with, obviously, Maguire and Evans at centre-back, which is a problem. But they got Amrabat, obviously, yesterday, or 2 days ago at the end of the transfer window, which I thought the midfield were better today, but he will certainly add something to their game. Look, it's very early in the season. Manchester United, I think, just slightly below par. Newcastle below par from where they would be. The rest of the teams, I think you would expect them to be in those types of positions, and maybe Tottenham a little bit above par from where you expected.
I was just going to finish on Tottenham, actually, because people are getting excited about Tottenham. Listen, we've been here before with Tottenham, haven't we? They have been a club of so many false dawns, but I don't know, something feels as though it's bubbling there.
Well, I think we said when we went to Tottenham a couple of weeks ago, it was a Saturday night, and they were playing Manchester United, that they're going to have a lot of fun this season with the way in which Postecoglou plays, and I think it really fits the way in which Tottenham fans see the vision of their club and how they see Tottenham playing sort of over the years. Only one small negative, I think it's quite a big negative, but it almost slipped through in midweek because everyone was sort of concentrating on other things. But when they went out of the Carabao Cup, that was like don't do that. Don't go out of the Carabao Cup. I know they're playing Fulham, but that's one of the 2 trophies you can probably win. So don't go out of that, because, if you want to try and win a trophy and turn the sort of, the fortunes of the club around and bring silverware, then that's one of the 2 you really need to pay attention to. So that's the negative. But in the league, they've been really good. I mean, they've got, like you say, they've amassed an amount of points, which would be, Tottenham fans would love. Postecoglou would have definitely wanted to get that amount of points. And they play an exciting football. That's the main thing. They play an exciting football, which Spurs fans believe in.
They have been, and they're not the only ones. It's been a terrific first month of the season. We've survived it up to the first international break. City are on top, so not much changes, but we'll be back in a couple of weeks, Gary. Thank you.
We will. Thanks, Peter.